One thing a Vermonter does well is ski. So, we thought we'd put our downhill skills to the test at two of New England's best resorts, Jay Peak and Burke Mountain.
In the cost category, lift tickets at both mountains were around $50. When compared to North Carolina slopes, that's a pretty good deal, especially since Jay Peak receives the most annual snowfall in the east.
We took a pocket cam on both mountains. We found Burke to be uncrowded and to be the easier of the two, but Jay Peak is known for its tree skiing, and it's the most northern slope in the state. The wind chill on the summit was -30 and it was so cold the camera could barely function.
We agreed this was the coldest we'd ever been. A warm shower would definitely have been nice that night. Instead, we settled for an equally cold cabin and a hike around Wheeler Pond.
While we're out here, it's about 9 o'clock on January 29th. We thought we'd give you a tour of our little lovely abode that we've been staying in. This is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's GMC Beaver Dam Cabin. And it's right on Wheeler Pond, which is kind of around the back here. Tomorrow, we're going to be getting snowshoes in Quebec because, as you can see, snow travel without snowshoes or cross-country skis is really tough. See what I mean? Yeah. We can show you this tomorrow, but this is the back of our cabin. It is pretty comfortable. The wood-burning stove, you'd be surprised at how warm it keeps things. I mean, warm is kind of a relative term at this point.
All right, so behind me is the privy, as people here in Vermont like to call it. That's all we got as far as the bathroom goes. And it's basically a hole cut in a plywood seat. Big hole in the ground full of you know what. And it's not a pleasant smell. First of all, please pee in the toilet. This will keep the privy contents in a liquid form that will allow for easier cleaning and pumping. So remember that, when you're out in the woods, you got a privy toilet, pee in it. Pack out all trash. We won't go into that. Please close the lid and the door when you're leaving. So even in a privy toilet, same rules of etiquette apply.
And we guarantee this is the only nighttime outhouse visit we made.
That is
I told
great.
you not to go in there.
It's nice and roomy. Could be a little more ventilated, in my opinion. Before going to bed, we decided to walk down the logging road to see if we had any neighbors. It seemed as if everyone had gone south for the winter.
You see that?
Yeah.
Brian said this is somebody's driveway. As you can see, there's a metal driveway barrier here, but it's barely above the snow. So usually what people do, they stake these out. On this side, you can see that wire is tied to a tree. On this side, you don't even know what it's tied to. And driveway barrier or not, I don't think anybody's gonna give this driveway anytime soon, so they don't have to worry about it.
I took advantage of the snowbank and tested an as seen on TV theory.
So what I'm kind of doing now is just trying to get an idea of how hard it would be if you were stuck out here to build one of these snow shelters that you see people building, you hear about. And I'll just do a little hole here. But, you know, it takes a lot of effort. So if you ever need to do this, you should probably do it. Make sure you have enough time. But, you know, as you can see, I just worked on this for a couple minutes. Well, let's head back.
That night was the coldest we'd experienced. The water jug froze, the peanut butter froze, and nobody could brush their teeth.
So this is morning of day 3, and none of us had brushed our teeth. So I went to go brush my teeth to get that minty clean feeling, and I squeezed the toothpaste, or I tried to squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube, but it's totally frozen. So I guess I'm not gonna brush my teeth on this trip. And Joey's really happy about that.
So day 3, we decided to visit our northern neighbor and spend the day in Quebec. We drove through the closest town to our cabin, Barton, Vermont, and on to the Canadian border. When crossing the border, here are a couple things to keep in mind. Number 1, get your story straight. Our Jeep was searched because the Border Patrol couldn't understand why 5 teenagers from North Carolina would go to Quebec for the day to snowshoe. Number 2, have the required documents. A passport or birth certificate is now required at the U.S.-Canadian border.
Our main objective in Quebec was snowshoeing, but the others wanted to be dropped off in the town of Magog. So, Bryan and I ate some lunch and decided on what to do about our latest medical emergency.
Didn't know it at the time, but at Burke Mountain I took a fall and jabbed my ski pole into my kneecap. Once we got back to the cabin, it was too late to do anything about it.